From the Newstalk ZB newsroom, this is Newsfix.
In this update, people are being urged to only call for an ambulance for medical emergencies or serious injuries. For 24 hours from 4 a.m. today, around 2,500 ambulance officers working for St John will be withdrawing from the first 4 hours of all shifts. St John's Dan Ows says it means at the peak time of the strike, resourcing will be down as much as 30%.
We're very confident that we can cover those sort of immediate emergency situations. It does mean that for anyone who has an emergency that isn't life-threatening, there may be some delays.
Police have summoned 3 people, 2 former police staff and a former Crown prosecutor, to appear in court in connection with one of the country's worst miscarriages of justice. The trio will appear in court early next month after a 2-year investigation following the acquittal of Alan Hall for murder in 2022. The Supreme Court's quashing of his conviction led to the biggest compensation payout in New Zealand's history. Experts here are keeping a close eye on a highly infectious variant of Mpox spreading overseas. The World Health Organization's declared a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years. But Auckland University's Mark Thomas says it's not inevitable we'll get a case here. He says it depends on how long it takes to control and just how far it spreads.
If it spreads widely in the United States or Canada or Australia or the UK or Europe, then we're likely to get cases here as well.
The health minister says he's working on restricting the recreational use of Nitros oxide, otherwise known as NANGs. Heavy use of the drug can lead to hospitalisation and people losing the ability to walk. Shane Retty says the ministry, though, is not the only authority responsible for controlling its sale.
So I've commissioned some work on that to say, what do I have? My understanding at the moment is it mostly sits with food safety, but if there are some health levers that I can pull, then I'm interested in having that discussion. And
that's news. I'm Donna Marie Lever. To sport, Warriors CEO Cameron George is seething that a high shot on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck didn't result in a sin bin for Bulldogs captain Stephen Crichton during last night's 34-18 loss at Mount Smart. RTS had to leave the field and is out of next week's season-ending match against the Sharks in Sydney. George is filthy at the lack of punishment.
And I just don't understand how something that can be reviewed, put on report, direct contact to the head, cause of injury, and not be sent to the bin.
And the Broncos have beaten the Eels 30-24 in Brisbane. Team New Zealand's beaten Britannia on the water in the final America's Cup preliminary regatta in Barcelona and are the only unbeaten crew after 3 races. New Zealand golfer Lydia Ko's in a 5-way tie for 5th after 2 rounds of the Women's Open at St Andrews. And Ethan de Groot has been ruled out of both rugby championship tests in South Africa due to a neck injury. And that's sport.
For more news, listen to Newstalk ZB live on iHeartRadio.